When I look back at my first year or two of selling on Amazon, honestly, it makes me cringe a little bit because when I started in 2018, I was working super hard, but I definitely lacked a cohesive strategy and did not know all of the things that you're about to know as soon as you watch this video. So today I'm taking the 5 biggest things that I learned from pure trial by fire during my first year or two selling on Amazon, and I'm going to condense that all down into a short video so that you can save yourself tons of expensive mistakes. And through all this, you'll see a simple, repeatable process to start finding as many profitable items as possible on Amazon. And to start that, I want to show you just a specific example of the types of products that you can be selling on Amazon, things that are profitable for your Amazon business. Stuff like this right here. So here is a simple red polo. These are selling for 20 bucks on the brand's website. Over here on Amazon, this sells for $45. So after we plug that into SellerAmp, you can see we're going to make about $9 every time we sell this item. And this is where the first really important thing that you need to remember comes into play. And we are not simply just guessing if things are going to sell on Amazon, right? Selling on Amazon is not gambling. It's basically just data science. And that's especially true when it comes to reselling products, which is the easiest way to start selling on Amazon. I know you'll probably see a lot of information about buying stuff from China, creating your own brand, all that kind of stuff. That is a way to sell on Amazon for sure, but it's going to be a lot easier to build and scale a business where you're simply buying things that are already in demand, right? So when I sell this product on Amazon, I don't need to buy any ads. People are already searching for this product. And thanks to tools like SellerAmp here, we know exactly how fast that item sells. But just to take it one level deeper, I want to make sure you understand how to know when things are actually going to sell versus not, because sometimes the data can be a little bit tricky to dive into. One of the biggest things I look for is down here on SellerAmp. When I scroll down, I can see the past history of this product. So I can see how many people have been on it, what the price has been, how that's changed over time. And specifically down here on the bottom graph, we can see that blue line right there showing me how many people have been on this listing. And what I can infer based on the fact that a few weeks ago, there were 5 sellers on the listing and now there is 1 seller on the listing is, hey, obviously this item sells. People are selling out, the price is going up. Those things would only be true if that item is actually selling out. What you need to be careful of is items like this, where this estimated sale number is actually split between all the different styles of things that have like variations, different size clothing. I just wanted to specifically highlight this because I see a lot of beginners go in and say, oh, this sells 400 times a month. But no, that's actually split between all the different versions of this item, right? So when I look at this one, you notice how the last one, the price was changing around a lot. You can see that purple line, which is the price going up and down and the new seller count dropping. On this one, the line stayed exactly the same and there's always been 1 seller on this listing. So it's really hard to know if this listing is actually selling or not, or if there's just been 1 person chilling on the listing, waiting and seeing if somebody wants to come in here and pay 60 bucks for this polo. So just remember that data is your friend, and let's take these things to the next level. Hopefully you understand that selling name brand products makes a lot of sense. And by the way, we'll actually source a new profitable product together by the end of this video. So if you want to see exactly how I land on items like this, make sure you stick around. And that brings me to the second thing that I definitely wish I knew when I first started selling on Amazon, which is all about the ungating process. So if you've ever looked into selling these name brands, I'm sure you've been familiar with the fact that you have to get approved to sell a lot of these big name brands. And my hot take when it comes to gating is that gating is actually an advantage. It's a huge advantage because I'm assuming a lot of you guys have applied for a brand, got denied, had to realize that there are some hoops to jump through when it comes to getting approved to sell those brands. But that's actually a fantastic thing because if it was super easy and anyone could just walk in and get approved to sell whatever they wanted, it would drive prices down on those listings. And speaking from personal experience, a couple years ago, it was literally just like you could submit blank pieces of paper and people were getting approved to sell super big popular brands, driving the prices way down because the listings were full of counterfeit sellers, which obviously we can't compete with people who are selling fake stuff on the platform. But just in case you're one of those people that ungating is still a little bit confusing for, it makes total sense. Let's say you wanted to get ungated to sell this Nautica item we were just looking at. All you would need to do to get ungated is just buy 10 items from the brand's website, or you can also just use any legit retailer. I like buying directly from the brand if possible. You know, who better to prove to Amazon that you buy authentic inventory than buying it directly from the brand? And then when you go to list this item on Boxem or Seller Central, it'll basically say, hey, you need approval to list this. You'll upload the invoice that Nautica has emailed you, receipt, whatever they want to call it. That is your invoice that you'll submit to Amazon. And then you'll just keep submitting that until you do get approved. I just wanted to spell all that out because when I started, people were literally charging like 2,000 bucks to learn how to get ungated in brands. And that was actually the reason why I didn't sell any name brand products in my store for well over a year. My first year was just selling used books. And I definitely wish I had expanded into selling name brand stuff, which is just a bigger opportunity overall. And by the way, when it comes to the ungating conversation, there's also plenty of brands that are actually auto ungated as well. So you don't need to submit any invoices and Amazon will let you start selling those. If you try brands like at the time of this video, Athletic Works or Danner Shoelaces, you'll see what I mean. And if you want a list of over 1,800 brands that you can potentially go in and try to auto ungate, I'll leave a link for that down below as well. And that brings us to the next thing that you need to understand, which is that you are not going to get rich overnight selling on Amazon. A little too often, I still see people talking about how, oh, I want to start selling on Amazon. I want to quit my job job next month and oh, I need to make $10,000 next month, right? Be realistic with yourself. And just so you can see what realistic expectations are like, let's go ahead and jump into the computer here and I'll run you through a quick exercise on like how much money you actually need to hit your Amazon goals. And to do that, we can use a pretty simple calculation, right? So for the most part, most Amazon sellers, your cost of goods as a percentage of revenue is going to be around 50%. So in other words, if you spend $5,000 on products, you're going to have sold $10,000. And you can basically use that to reverse engineer your goals. So for example, let's say you want to sell $50,000 a month. Obviously, that means you spend $5K, which is right around $850 a day on inventory. And if that sounds like a super overwhelming amount, trust me, I didn't think I'd be spending the $80,000 to $100,000 a month we're spending now. It really just kind of becomes routine. And the big point of emphasis with this is the only way you can get to those crazy numbers, unless you're just starting with a ton of money, in which case good for you, is to continue to reinvest as much money as possible. So looking at that from a profit perspective as well, obviously that's what pays the bills, not revenue. Typically, you're going to be looking at about a 35% ROI, which in our example where we spent $5,000 on inventory, that means that we will make about $1,800 in profit, just rounded up there. So if you are that person, your goal is to make that $10,000 a month, you want to do it on $50,000 a month in revenue, you're going to see that the spend goal is actually going to go closer to $30,000 a month that you'll need to spend on inventory to hit that desired profit number. And when I started my Amazon business, I definitely did not have crazy money. I made like $1,500 in high school and I used that to grow my Amazon business initially. So if you're like me and not starting out with a ton of money, one thing that I wish I would have done a lot more to grow that capital faster is leveraging Amazon FBM versus just using Amazon FBA. With FBA, we just ship all our products off to Amazon all at once, checks in at the warehouse, and then they ship it to the customers for us. But the big downside to that is you obviously have to wait for those items to check in at Amazon, right? Which is typically going to be anywhere from 10 to 20 days. It can be a little bit faster if you make your shipments on Boxem, but you still obviously have a bit of a lag time, right? Versus with FBM, the second you buy that product, the second it's on your doorstep, you can already be listing those products on Amazon and just shipping that direct to customer as the product sells. Because in essence, the way it'll work out is if you're an FBA only seller, every about 2 months, you'll see that 35% return on investment come back. So if you started with $1,000, you can play with the compound interest calculator, but you'd basically compound $1,000 6 times over the course of a year at 35% ROI. And then if you compare that to the numbers of someone who's focusing solely on FBM, usually they'll see anywhere from 10 to 12 inventory turns. Let's just conservatively call it 10 inventory turns. That same seller starting with just $1,000, you can see how much more money they're going to end up with after their first year versus someone who solely did Amazon FBA. But the main thing I want to stress within the cash flow conversation is just make sure you understand that if you start your Amazon business, it's going to tie up money. It's not going to be something that you're instantly pulling out a ton of money. And in fact, to grow for the long term, it's really smart to reinvest as much money as possible. A lot of people will do it for their first year or two. That was pretty much what I did to make sure that I'm setting myself up in the future for success. And it just involves a little bit of sacrifice in the short term while you focus on actually scaling. So to break down the next thing I wish I knew, which is maybe the most important of them all, I want to jump back into the computer and let's look at this polo, right? This product's already profitable. You can see we're buying this for 20, we're selling it for 45 on Amazon. But this is where real veteran Amazon sellers can become separated from people who try Amazon for a few months and just don't end up making that much money. And it's with bonus profit margin. So for example, this item, sure, it's 20 bucks. But if I refresh the page, you'll see this is pretty common on a lot of websites. If I spend this, it's 15% off every time. You're going to get a email coupon code for 15% off. All you have to do is plug in your email, right? So now instead of paying $20, now we're paying, what's that going to work out to, like 17-ish bucks. So now we're paying $17 just plugging in our email and using a coupon code on things that usually it's just like full price items, but that was already full price. Okay, so now the smarter Amazon seller has added basically $3 in profit to this item, but we don't even need to stop there. Let's check for cash back. Another great way to add some bonus money to your business. So checking cashback monitor, this shows me everyone that's offering cash back for this website. And I can see, hey, Rebates Me is offering 6% back. So now when I go in and buy and I pay $17, now I'm going to get 6% back in bonus money just via cashback, right? Another way, and probably even more important when it comes to boosting your profit margin, is leveraging discounted gift cards. So I go to Cardbear and you can see, it looks like there's 2 different websites where I can get 21 or 20% off on discounted gift cards. And I'll even just show you what that looks like. So I can go into this website. I can say, hey, give me a $200 gift card. They're immediately going to give me $40 back. I can use this to buy more gift cards, more free inventory essentially. And then I've added another 20% off on this product. So now I've gone from this item being a $20 item down to 17 bucks, now down to $13.60, which is obviously a huge difference. So we've taken this from like a 50% ROI to 120% ROI just with some simple margin boosting tactics. And there's actually about 10 to 12 of these margin boosting tactics that I use in my business. And once again, I'll leave leave a link down below. There's a free document where I outlined all of those. That's in the free course that you'll see linked down below. And that takes me to the next thing that I wish I knew, and this is super important for you, which was actually just finding the best way to source products. What's funny is the first time I tried online arbitrage, I actually quit after the first couple weeks because I just could not find any products. I was sourcing in the wrong ways. I was just like randomly looking through clearances. I was trying to use software that told me they could find all the products for me. But really what I noticed is that the best way to source profitable items is literally just diving in and seeing what other successful sellers have already found success on, right? So let's do that together here, and we will source, and this video is probably going to be over when we have found a profitable item together. So what I like to do is just open up these sellers on listings that are already profitable. For example, we know that this is a nice profitable listing, and now I get to see all of this person's favorite brands, their favorite products. This list is usually roughly in order of how fast those items will sell as well. And honestly, my favorite way to do this is just going brand by brand, starting with the brands that they are most comfortable with. So you can see they have 90 items in the Gloria Vanderbilt brand right here. And we can even just start from here and see if we can find some profitable items, because as I'm diving into these storefronts, all I need to do is just Google that title and just quickly take a peek and see what a lot of these are going for. So a lot of these are like 17 bucks or so, 19 or so. Let's see, JCPenney has some of these for 13. And what I'm trying to compare that to is what the maximum cost for this item is. So like on this, I can buy these for $18 and I'll make my like ideal profit that I want to make when I buy stuff on Amazon. So this could actually be worth digging into a little bit. Maybe the first item being profitable, that'd be pretty fun. Let's just go ahead and hit the Google button there, just because that has like the same colors and everything else like that in the title. Let's see, like this right here, Park City. So it seems like more like the blue jean style ones in this product are going for 28, and that would be like a $18 cost right there. I do see that we have some of these other options here, just like on different retailers. Are any of these on a nice sale? Let's see. So like this white, this is on a nice sale, and we can probably get this cheaper than 19 bucks using those discount methods that we're talking about as well. But let's just see, like vintage white, like that right there. I think that's actually what we're looking for. A lot of the sizes are sold out, but we can always check. So what I want to do to find basically like the best versions of this pair of pants is go to variations on Keepa, which by the way, as far as sourcing goes, you'll just use SellerAmp on the right and then Keepa on the bottom. Other software that you need is called Boxem, which is how you list products. It's how you track your analytics. There's an AI that can help you source. And it's also how you can increase feedback for your Amazon store. So kind of like a multi-tool. And that'll be like basically the $90 tech stack that you need. But let's go ahead and plug in like that vintage white color that we're looking for. And I can see a lot of these are like 46, 44 bucks and above. So it could actually be a good item right away. We just need to see if any of the sizes that we have in stock still are there. So let's see, they have 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. So all the normal ones seem to be in stock, like 4 through 16. And then there's some like short versions. So let's see. A lot of these are the longs. Let's see, like 4 short is 45 bucks. Do they have the 4 shorts? Nope, 4 shorts sold out. No worries. Let's see. The next one I see is size 18. I think 18 was gone. They do have 14s though. I'm pretty sure we had 14s on our link there. Yeah, so 14 is in stock. What are those going for? Those are like 35 bucks right now. So 35, 19, 13 is our cost. Okay, so we're gonna need some help. Let's see if we can get enough discount from discounted gift cards maybe. So Macy's is gonna be 11% off today. I think it's gonna be close, but probably not quite. See, minus 11%. Yeah, so a few bucks profit, but on something like women's clothes, which has a very high return rate, we need to make sure our profit is pretty good. That's definitely not enough profit on something like women's clothes. What is interesting though is I see some of these down here are closer to $41 price point on the buy box. Ideally, I want to see some things that are a little more consistent up there. So this is a good example. What size was this? 8 short. Do we have 8 short? We do have 8 short. Okay, this could be our winner here. So like I was saying, what I'm looking for is the prices to be a little bit more consistently like high up and up there. I want to avoid something like this where you can see usually it's like 20 to 30 bucks. And then like very recently it went to 41. This right here has been at least $40 for basically like 2 months at this point. I'm pretty comfortable with that. Like the lowest it's been in the last 2 months was 39 bucks. We're profitable there. The actual current price though is 41.50, which yeah, usually like women's clothes, I'm looking for at least like a 45 to 50% ROI. Whereas something like groceries with no returns, I might be fine with like 25 ROI. But yeah, so this seems relatively interesting. Sells 50 times a month. The other thing I'm looking for, like we talked about earlier, is to make sure that you see like the prices changing and new offer count changing a lot, which I actually do see. Seems like this sells decently well based on how often you can see people are basically going out of stock, coming back on the listing and kind of going up and down there. In general though, we have less competition than normal as well, which is good to see on that listing. But yeah, I think that's a very solid example of just one profitable product that you could sell on Amazon. It was actually literally the first product in this person's storefront. So pretty cool to see. That's the basics of finding a product on your own as well. And one other thing I'll mention, if you want to hop on a live workshop with me where we'll source products together, break down the entire Amazon business, I'll leave a link down below. We host free live classes every couple weeks. Go ahead and check that out if you want to hop on, and we share a ton of sourcing information that is not anywhere on YouTube. Really go above and beyond to make sure you guys get a ton of sauce on these live classes. So now you have the exact framework for sourcing your first profitable item, as well as the things that literally took me a year or two to learn. So run with that. Let's make this the month that you start finding success with an online business. Let me know down below if you have any questions, comments, anything like that. Always happy to chat with you guys. If you're serious and want to take the next step, also make sure you grab 2-week free trials of SellerAmp and Boxem. Those will be the software that you need to run your Amazon business. And I really appreciate you watching this video. If you want to see more detail on the ungating process, which is, I know, confusing for beginners, you can click this video right here.